Okay, hi guys, and welcome to an evening of the Steel Detailer in Perth, Australia. I guess first of all, I'd like to thank you for taking the time out to see this demonstration. And just as at the moment, what I've done is I've got all of you muted. There are a fair few online. If we start discussing, it'll get a little bit noisy and hectic. So basically, what I do is I'm recording this session, and this session's about setting up and starting a project. Okay. If you can't see my screen, please let me know. If you can't hear me, please let me know. I guess so. We'll get started. I guess right now, just to let you know, we do webinars twice a week. One in the morning of a Wednesday at 7 o'clock, which is Perth time, and also one at 8 o'clock Perth time. So I guess if you're interested in wanting to see certain topics, we'll certainly demonstrate that to you live. And then what we do is we make a recording of it, and we place the recording on YouTube, and we send you a link so that you can watch it again. Okay. If you miss it, that's okay. It's probably because you may have your settings wrong or incorrectly set up. You'll still be able to capture the video later. So moving forward, I guess the first thing we need to do when we start using TSD, if you've installed TSD and the trial library, it'll give you a bit of an idea on how to model within TSD. But what we want to do is we want to start from scratch. So first of all, the first thing we need to do is create a project. Now, if you've got any questions, please don't ask through GoToMeeting. Send an email to support@thesteeldetailer.com. Okay, if you send an email there and just ask the question, I'm sure we'll be able to answer it quite quickly for you. We'll be available after this demonstration. The demonstration should take about 30 minutes, and I'm going to cover how to set up a project for a one project job, or for one area for a project, and also a multiple area for a project. So just follow through with me, and I'll show you exactly how you get started with TSD. And I forgot to introduce myself. My name is Michael Crawford. I'm the Product Development Manager of TSD. And if you want any help, I'm sort of the sort of guy that you'd want to talk to. We have a team of 8 that also can answer questions, hence the reason why we go through the support. Alright, so let's get started. First thing we need to do is we can create a project straight off the start menu here, or alternatively we can go into the TSD projects and create a new project out of there. But we're just going to start off to the left here. So we create a new project, and with the new project creation we get a feature tree. So I'm just going to close that off. The feature manager, will open up. We start off with a project number. Now we're limited to 4 digits for our project numbers, and we prefer to use numbers, of course, rather than letters. That however does not hinder the performance of the project itself. It's just a filing process. So all your drawings can be set up to be bigger than 4. But at the end of the day, the basic setup is 4 digits for all the filing. The reason for that is DSTV CNC is something that we're working on at the moment, and there are a certain number of letters that certain number of digits that we can use for our naming conventions. So I'm going to start off with a new project, and for that I'll just put in 2000. Now obviously once we put this information in, we've set up the data for the project, which means this information can transfer over into drawings. So now we're going to go project client. Oh, by the way, if you put lowercase in and then uppercase, you can come back and fix it if you like. But remember, this is going to go into your drawings. So I'm just going to put in project client. The next one will be project description. Next one will be project location 1. And for instance, as an example, your project client can be anybody, of course, that'd be the client name. The project description can be, say for instance, if it was a building, you could say that it was a particular type of building. For project location 1 can be the address, obviously. I mean, this is sort of common sense sort of stuff that's going to go in your drawings. So I'm just filling these out so that you can see how this information is handled. Now we're getting into what we call a WBS code. Now WBS stands for Work Breakdown Structure. It's an area. So for instance, if you've got a building and you've got one person working on that building, you would only create one area. Okay, if you were going to create a mine site, we've got a problem with one particular person can't see anything at all. Alright, let's have a look. Just hold on a second, guys. And screen. Okay, so it must have accidentally dropped off. Okay, let's go back to the start so that you can see it. Now, can you all hear me? Can you all see the screen now? Okay, that's good. Can you hear me, Ludus? Excellent. Thanks. That's great. Okay, guys, we'll just go back to the project number. We'll cover that. That's 4 digits. The project client, project description, project location 1, 2, and 3. It's pretty much self-explanatory information that will go into your drawing sheets. Okay. So the next one is the WBS code. If you're going to do a building, the WBS would be one particular area only. But if you're going to do a mine site, you can actually break up the project into different areas. So you might end up with primary crushing circuit, secondary crushing circuit, conveyor, and they may be different areas. And what you can do is you can break up your project into those different areas so that different people can model in those areas. Okay, so we use a 2-digit code, and you'll see how the codes form the areas as we go on. Now, 2-digit code, we use letters, and with letters you can have 26 by 26 different variations. So if we just put in AA for now, and I'll explain this a little bit more as we go in. AA, and now the building, say for instance you've got one building, you might want to call it building, say the name of the building for the WBS name, because it's just one model that you're going to create for that area. Now if it's a mine site, you might want to make this a global scenario. I usually call it global to start with, and that helps us move forward, and we can come back and add more later. So I'm just going to put global there. Now we need to set up a vault location, which is where all your files are going to get automatically placed through the automatic filing processes of TSD. So I'm just going to set it up. I've got a library, a project area to which I work, and I'm just going to put it in there. Now the next 4 selections are based on the sheet templates to which you're going to use in your project. So you pre-select your sheet templates, but what you've got to do with your sheet templates is you've got to match fields. Now if you're already a SolidWorks user and you've got sheet templates that you already use, what we need to do is map the above information that we've put into the project through TSD's fields in the database into your drawing sheet. So we've got to map the fields. So we've got to map the fields from TSD to the fields that are in your drawing template. There are 2 ways of doing this. If you've already created a project in the past and you've set this up, you can actually load that information back in again, which makes it a bit easier. But I'm going to show you how to do the first one from scratch, and then I'm going to load in previous drawings from previous projects. When you actually set the sheet templates up, you can put client logos and everything on the drawing sheets after you've selected them, because it copies the templates that you've selected into your project. Okay, so if you're copying it from another project into your project, you might want to change the logos, and you can do that. Okay, so what we're going to do now is we're just going to browse to a GA drawing, and to do that, by default in the Steel Detailer we've actually got a folder in there called the drawing templates, and in here we've got 4 drawing templates. Now we have what we call a GA template, which is where all your GAs go on. It can be an A1 or an A3, it's up to you and how you do your own, any sheets size or format. The next one is a weldment template, which is a welded item. So for instance, you've got a beam, you've got cleats and everything hanging off it. It's purely for dimensional and location of cleats and things like that. That's what that drawing is. And then we have another drawing sheet under that, which is a member template. So if you've got holes, cuts on steel sections, that's that drawing. And then the next drawing template is a plate template, which is the last template on the list. Obviously you're going to put all your fittings on that drawing sheet. So we're just selecting these drawing sheets for our project, and it's just a simple process of actually selecting it and putting it in. Okay, now what's come up here? The list that you see in front of you are the fields that are in the database for TSD. Okay, the fields that we've just pulled from the drawing template are here in this list. Okay, so the drawing template and the TSD fields we need to map. So I'm just going to map line 1 title and line 1 title here. And what this does is allows information to pass out of the TSD environment, which we've just put in up the top, through TSD into your drawing sheet. Now on your drawing sheet it might not be called line 1 title here. It might be called description 1 or whatever you use. It may have a different name, but it's a field and we need to put information into that field. So what we do is we click update. When we click update, you can see that the actual information has been transferred over into the TSD area for mapping of the fields. Okay. Now you also notice that when you select your list of fields for your templates, you'll notice that it's now been added to TSD's database as a link, so you can pass information to and from it. Okay, so we're just going to go down and link a couple of these so that we've got them. Now I'm just passing information from the database into drawings. That's what this process does. So line 3, we'll add that. Line 4, we'll add that. And main rev, which is obviously a revision process in TSD, allows you to control your revisions. There's a document manager that helps you manage your revisions, so the information itself can be passed through the database and the database stores your revisions. It's sort of like a mini EPDM without EPDM. If you use EPDM, and for those that don't know what EPDM is, it's Enterprise Product Document Management System, which looks after all your drawings. It's sold by SolidWorks. TSD will integrate with that quite easily. The document management side of TSD you can leave aside and use the EPDM if you like. But for now, this is TSD's revision process. So we've actually got to collect the revision. So in that in mind, we want to grab the main rev out of that. Now your main rev may be something completely different in your templates. So we're just going to select that and link that as well. Now you'll notice that I've gone through this process manually. Now let's just say on the next 3 that I add in, so we've got 4 drawing sheet templates if you can remember. I want to bring one in that I've already created, so I can go into my previous projects and go load, which will load in that template from that project, and it will bring in the linked fields as well. Okay, in that one there's 5. And if we go over to the next one, we can load the next one. So that was the weldment member template that we've just done. The next one is the steel section drawing, which has got holes, cuts, and that sort of stuff on your beams. And we're going to load that template. So we want to put that in and load it. So that brings those in. And also with the plate drawing, we're going to load that as well. Rather than doing it from scratch, if you've set up a dummy project and it's ready to go and it's got your default templates in there, fantastic. So we'll just load those in as well. So now what we're doing is we're telling TSD that these fields are going to get mapped. Now TSD itself works on custom properties for revisions. So if you set up your custom properties for 4 or 5 revisions in your drawing sheet, the information gets automatically updated. We'll cover that in a later date under the document management process, but for today you just need to realize that TSD uses custom properties. For the SolidWorks users, we don't use tables or revision tables with TSD. Okay, now we'll just create the project by clicking the create button. Now down the bottom left hand side you'll see the complete that's just come up. That means the project's now been added to the database. There has no filing been added, okay, except for the templates being copied into the project and the project number being started. What this means now is we have a project in the database, but we need to go in and create the areas to which we're going to work. And now the areas are assemblies. Okay, so the next step after we've created the project is to start the filing process. So if we go into the TSD projects area and go project login, okay, now I'm just going to show you exactly what this means. Now when I go in and I select the project that I've created and I select the area to which it's been created and I go login, it creates the area assembly to which I've just logged in, and you'll notice the 4 digits for the project up on the left hand corner, and you'll also notice the 2 digits for the area. So this is the automatic filing that comes with TSD. Now by logging in for the first time, it creates the project assembly and it creates the area assembly. Now I'm just going to show you what they are by minimizing what's on my desktop, and I actually have a diagram that shows you how the modeling processes work within TSD. Now our primary focus is what's on the top. Now when you log into a project for the first time, the very top assembly that gets created is actually 4 digits, no dash A there. Now some customers have actually used a dash A. It just confuses the thing a little bit, but it's the 4 digits. That's the project number. The area, which are these three below, are where people log into. Actually log into these assemblies. 9 times out of 10 our customers don't do multiple projects or multiple areas in projects, but we've actually got to account for it. And it has to be treated differently. When you're a one-man band and you're working on a project area, you will log into that area. Now if you're working on something like a mine site or a design for a mine site, the top level assembly here is a project leads assembly, and only a project lead can get access to that assembly. I'll get into that a little bit further. These areas here are for your designers, so you can have, say for instance, the area AA can be a primary screening structure, or a crushing structure and so forth along these areas, a conveyor. Okay, now we can build these things separately, and then at the top we can combine the assemblies together based on a driving sketch, which allows us to manage the interfaces between each one of these. Now I'm not sure if that's clear, but if you actually understand the SolidWorks modeling processes, which is what I'm about to show you, you'll see it and you'll understand why we do what we do. Okay, one of the main reasons is that if you've got an area and someone's working on that area, nobody else can get access to that area. It's like opening up an AutoCAD drawing and you're the only person that can work on that AutoCAD drawing. Same sort of principle with this system. Okay, but if a project lead is up the top and he's got his driving sketch in there, he can actually influence the outcome of the other three areas by modifying his driving sketch. Now he will control the project at that level, he or she. And down in the next three, that can be anybody modeling away. So this allows a multiple user environment, if that makes sense. Alright, so we'll put that back away and we'll pull this back up. Now when I logged in, I actually created a new area. Okay, 2000 AA. Now when I close that assembly off, I now have a project number, which is the top level one that I showed you before. So it creates that as well. Okay, now let's have a look at what happened in the background so we can see it. So if we go over into the project where I'm saving this and have a look at the filing system in underneath, this is what TSD has created automatically for us. So the assembly for the project is at the top level. The templates, all four, have been copied across. Now one thing I will cover after I've done this sort of process is you can actually go back and change the information once you've put it back in as well. So you can reselect new templates if you've made a mistake and selected the wrong ones. Also too, you'll notice that the area has been created as a folder, and inside the folder we've actually got the area assembly. Okay, these are all created from the scratch. Now once you've created these and you go to log into an area, it will just simply open it. It will not recreate them. Okay, now if you want to add more areas to your project, it's quite simple. You go to TSD Projects and click on WBS Manager, and in here I seem to have 2 AAs. I don't know why. We'll just add them back and add them in. Okay, so now we've got the AA Global there. If we want to add more areas, we just go down the bottom here where a WBS code is, and let's just say, for instance, for a mining layout, the first thing we want to do is go primary crushing station. Right, so this can be an area for a primary crushing station, say AB, and then we can go AC, and we can go primary screening station. Okay, now the other option here is to say, for instance, you're working on a very big project and there might be 3 parts to it, and it could be a building, and say the first one, AA, could be floor 1, AB could be floor 2, AC could be floor 3, and so forth, and you can get down to, say, let's just get to BA and call that grid 1. It's up to you on how you want to name these. These are areas that people are going to be familiar with if you're using a multi-user environment. Okay, so when someone talks about the screening station, they'll know that the area is AC and the assembly is AC. Okay, so I'm just going to tick that. We've now created 2 more areas, and to create those areas we just go to Project Login. Okay, and we can actually select them here under the WBS code and go log in. And you'll also notice that by logging in, I've now created in the filing system 2000 AB and then the assembly to which we've currently got open. And we can close that off, and these are area assemblies for others to get involved with. So under that we've got area AC, we'll log that in. Okay, so now we've got 3 separate areas. Now in the first area being global, I'm going to log into that. Oh, by the way, the AC was also created. So you get the process. If I create more areas, obviously more folders, more assemblies get created. But now what we're going to do is we're going to go down to another level. Okay. Oh, one step before we do that. Under the TSD projects, there's the project manager. The project that we created before, we can actually go in and we can edit the details. This is something you should know. So if you've got lowercase, or you've got spelling mistake or something like that in your information, you can go back through this process here and tidy it all up. Okay, just thought I'd mention that. I'm not going to edit or update that. Alright, now let's go back into this projects area and log into an area. Okay, first one we're going to log into is AA. Okay, so now we've got ourselves an assembly that we can work with. Okay, this assembly is a starting point. When working with SolidWorks, especially with structures, we have driving sketches, and we use the driving sketches to attach our members to. Okay, now anything that you use with TSD, there's a sketch involved somewhere. It can be a sketch point or a sketch line. Okay, what we're going to do is just set up a driving sketch, a basic driving sketch. Alright, so to do that, I've actually got to select the top plane and create a sketch, like I said. And we need to put a point at the origin, because we want to insert on that point, because it's a sketch, a driving sketch. Now once you've installed the TSD trial library, okay, you can go in and fiddle with it. TSD customers obviously get a long list of frames and things that they can actually put in. We can go into the TSD members area and go into frames. Now this is where we get our driving sketches. Okay, we've labeled our driving sketches under frames. You can put driving sketches under driving sketches. Inside TSD we have a filtering system to select things. Now if you've got the trial, you can grab this frame, right, and then what you want to do is insert it on a point. So you pick the sketch point and you insert it on that point. Okay, now this is just a model that SolidWorks has, well, a person has created in SolidWorks, and it's been uploaded to the library. You'll also notice that when I inserted it, it's come in with the 2000, the AA, the FR, and then the 001. Now what this means is the AA obviously is the assembly to which it belongs, which is the area. The FR is the actual 2-digit code to describe what the item is, and when we're looking at assemblies, we can, if you're familiar with your filing system, and yes, you set up your own filing system, you can also use TSD's. TSD has a default system. Now the FR itself, we know that's a frame. Now when it's inserted that, it's actually mated it in position based on that sketch point that I've just put in. Now inside that I also have a part, and at the part level we have a driving sketch. Okay, that's the driving sketch. Now the driving sketch itself is just made up of all the features to create it, basic SolidWorks modeling techniques. There is a link here to the assembly that's above, and in contextual reference, so that if I change something in the assembly above, it would automatically update. Okay, now you'll also notice as I go through these, I've got level 1, grid 2, there's all these planes, there's a level 1 sketch that we can fiddle with, there's a center plane, dimensions that we can change that are already built into this frame. Obviously the centers of the floor beams, where we're going to put the floor beams, and then the stairs. So we've got all these sketches to which we can attach to. Now the trial libraries that we offer, right, you can go in, have a look at these things, get familiar with them, and then you'll understand what SolidWorks is all about, because this is just a SolidWorks model at the end of the day. We're just using TSD as a repository to put these things so that we can reuse them. There are some small fundamental requirements, but at the end of the day it's just SolidWorks modeling. Now in this model I could happily just model away and turn that into one complete model using this area. Okay, this is a normal technique. As I said earlier, 9 out of 10 people model this way if there's a one-man band. Now if there's 2 people or 3 people or 4 people working on a project, we need to come up with a system that's going to allow us to do that. We've sorted that out for us, so we know exactly how it works. Okay, what we're going to do is this assembly here, okay, at this area level, we're just going to dissolve it. Okay, now you only do this for a multi-user environment, and you'll also notice that by default this model is excluded from the bill of materials. It's just a driving sketch and you don't want it coming into your bill of materials. What we're also going to do is we're going to save this as a new assembly at the top level. Now we only do this with multi-user environments, and the reason that we do that, and we're just going to name it differently as well, is because it needs to be treated differently. It's not a default normal process for TSD, but it works quite well anyway. So I'm just putting in DSO1 and I'm saving it in the top level assembly. We know that this is a driving sketch because of the 2 ladders that I've put in there, and all I'm going to do is just save it. Okay, so that now gives it a new name, and now I have the driving sketch in here. Also in that driving sketch we had a link. We need to remove the link just to tidy it. Bit of housekeeping. I know that's the link, so I'm just going to remove that by deleting it. Basic SolidWorks functionality, like most of the processes we use, except for the way that we're setting up TSD. Okay, so now we close that off. Now we've got ourselves a driving sketch in here. What we also need to do is we need to, in the other areas, put the driving sketch as well. Now, if you can imagine having multiple driving sketches over the top of each other, it means that in each area I can populate what I need to populate for it. So this area could be AA, it could be just the top floor. Someone else in area AB could be doing grid 1, which is just 2 columns and a couple of braces. So you can actually break it up. Okay, so I'm now going to log into area AB, and I want to do the same thing in there as well. So I'll just go into project and go project login and area AB. Okay, so in area AB I now want to put the same assembly that I just created, same part, driving sketch part, inside that assembly. Okay, so from here, now if I want to drag and drop, I can, just simply by grabbing it, holding my mouse key down and dragging it in. Now in SolidWorks 2012 and previous, this used to go origin to origin by default, and of late we've just realized that it's not actually doing that anymore. I don't know why. Test that one out for yourself. It could be a setting. Now if I hold my control key down and hit the origin and then get up by hitting S, which is a shortcut key, I can bring up the paperclip mate, and then that locks it into place. Now by aligning the axis, that's got me at origin. Now I've done that area. Now I also need to log into and I need to make sure that that's excluded from the bill of materials because we don't want that coming in. Okay, so right mouse click, properties, exclude from bill of materials. Now we also need to do the same thing for the next one. So if we go to the next area, log into that. Did I close that part? No, I didn't. So the DSO1 is there. So I'm just going to grab that and drag that over into AC. So now I've got AC, and now I'm going to do the same thing with it. I'm going to float it origin to origin, and if you wait long enough, the flyout comes up and locks it in place anyway for mating. So that's locked that in place. Now what we need to do for a multi-user environment, these are all areas that I've logged into, we need to add them to the project level. Okay, that means that I need to manually open up the project level. Now the project level is for project leads on multiple multiple areas for a project. Okay, now we're going to drop the driving sketch into there as well. So we go window, tile horizontal, and the driving sketch is there, and we need to drop that over into there. Now the reason that we're dropping it in at this level is because the project lead is going to have control of this driving sketch. So say for instance they get a phone call from an engineer and they're halfway through their project. The project lead opens up the top level assembly and he says, I've got to lift this to all of his to all of his drafties that are below him or designers. I have to lift the floor up and I'm going to change the floor now. So he has to have the driving sketch at the top level. What he also will do is make the driving sketch read-only, as a read-only file, so that nobody at a lower level can modify the driving sketch. So he's in complete control of the multi-user environment. We also need to exclude these from bill of materials so that they don't show up as well. Alright, now what I'm going to do is I'm going to start dragging in the assemblies one by one into that top level assembly. Okay, there is a bit more setting up to do with multi-user environments, but it has to happen this way. And I'm showing you this because if you are a person in a large company, multiple people are going to be working on your project, whether you like it or not, especially if it's a big one. So I'm just going to go through and I'm just going to drag these in place. So AA, AB, and AC. Okay. Now I can close these off one by one, and now we've got our project in here, and you'll notice we've got a bit of a scattered system. This is this origin thing that I'm talking about before. So now what I want to do is I go origin to origin, made it in place. Next one, origin to origin, okay, make that in place, and origin to origin and make that in place. Now one of the other sketches in the assemblies has moved. I think it might be just this one at this level anyway, so we'll make sure that that's at origin and origin as well. Now you'll say, that's a bit crazy, why have we put so many sketches over the top of each other? Well, realistically, when you start looking at how SolidWorks functions, I'm working at this level as a project lead, I need the driving sketch. If I'm working at AA level, I need the driving sketch. So the driving sketch is in every single one of those assemblies. And if I make a change to the driving sketch at any one of those assemblies, every other assembly is modified. Now I'm about to demonstrate that process. If I go into the area AA, make sure that that's excluded, yep, and I go and put a column in there. Now, under the TSD environment in the model library, we've actually got some models. If we go into the columns area, we've got a column there that we can use. So if you pick the column and by default use the sketch segment, you can select the column line and put in a column member. Now this is a weldment member that's just gone in, okay? Now let's just say for this instance, just as an example, I'm just putting the column into area AA, and I also might put another column in there as well, just as an example. Now we'll demonstrate members at a later date, but I just wanted to show you that this process works at a top level arrangement. So now I've got two columns in there, two new ones, and they've both got new names, and all the filing underneath that's automatically added. Now what's also happened when I put my columns in under AA, there's a members folder that's been created, and inside that we actually have our members with all our components automatically labeled and named. I'll cover that later. Okay. So now in that area AA we've got these two columns. That person for area AA could be working on the columns and the braces and the beam that exists in there. But somebody in area AB has been given the task to do the floor. So if I go in and do the floor in area AB, I can go in and select my members, put my beams in, pick on my beam and insert my beam. I've got a myriad of beams in there, different types of connections all over it, and I insert my beam. Now I can consistently just keep going around and adding beams in if I want to. At the end of the day, this is all just part of the tutorial, and I just wanted to demonstrate that if I'm working at lower levels, like right now, this could be person 2 that's working on this area, person 1 still working on the columns, and they've not influenced me just yet. Okay, so there's a couple of beams that have been put in, working away. Now if I'm at the top level, which is what I've got open now, I can change the project by selecting the driving sketch, and I get a phone call that says 3 meters isn't adequate, I need to make it 4 meters. I just changed the 3 meters in the driving sketch to 4 meters, and if I do a rebuild, everything updates. Okay. Now if you're already working on a model at a lower level and you have that open, you will be notified that there are some changes that have occurred to the driving sketch, and it'll ask you if you'd like to update. And you'll notice that that's automatically updated because I've just opened it up from the top level. But if you're already working on this and you're on another computer on a network, that update happens to you also. And that's where the beauty of the multi-user environment comes in. That's how you set up a multi-user environment for a project. Previous to that, that's how you set up one. So if you just want to work on one area, you can quite adequately go through that and use one area and completely model that whole thing up. And that pretty much shows you how to set up a project, how to get started, and it covers both avenues, because I've worked in both avenues. I know what it feels like to work as one person in a band, and obviously work in a multi-user environment on large projects, multi-billion-dollar projects. Some of the largest models I've had up around 900,000 components. Yes, and you do wait; they get big. Now TSD is pretty much simplistic. Once you set up the areas, it's just a matter of creating your library components and then inserting them in locations and positioning them. We cover that in a later date. So that pretty much concludes the demonstration for setting up projects within TSD. I am recording this, as I said, and with the recording I will post it on YouTube and send you a link. I've got the list of people that are involved, that are in the list at the moment, that have been watching this, so I certainly will get that out to you, and that way you can have a play yourself. If you've got any questions, please send us an email at support@thesteeldetailer.com. Any of our team can answer those questions. Right now, if you send me questions, I'm not going to be able to answer them because there'll be too many people. Okay, so first of all, thanks very much for your time, and look forward to seeing you at another webinar. And if you want something demonstrated specifically, just whack it in support@thesteeldetailer.com and we'll show you. We'll be happy to do that. Okay, thanks guys. Thanks very much for spending your time with me. Talk to you again soon.